Appears near the chapel, walking through walls, its presence accompanied by a suffocating sense of malice. Those who see it describe an overwhelming urge to flee, as if their very soul is under attack. Centuries passed, and Houska Castle faded into obscurity, its legends whispered only by the locals who dared not approach. The forest grew thicker, the castle's stones weathered by time, but its reputation as the gateway to hell endured. In the 20th century, during the dark days of World War II, the castle drew the attention of a new kind of darkness, one born not of legend, but of human ambition and obsession. In 1940, the Nazis, under Adolf Hitler's command, occupied Houska Castle, not for its strategic value, but for its occult significance. Hitler was obsessed with ancient relics, runes, and supernatural power, believing they could grant him dominion over the world. His elite Ahnenerbe unit, a secretive branch of the SS dedicated to exploring the occult, scoured Europe for sites of mystical importance, places rumored to hold the keys to otherworldly forces. Houska Castle, with its legend of the gateway to hell, was one of their prime targets. The Nazis believed the pit beneath the chapel was more than a myth. They saw it as a potential portal to another world, a source of unimaginable power that could turn the tide of the war in their favor. They seized the castle, barring locals from approaching and shrouding their activities in secrecy. Armed guards patrolled the perimeter, their faces grim, their orders absolute. The forest, once silent, buzzed with the sound of machinery and the shouts of men. But it was the nights that brought the true horror. Villagers reported strange lights emanating from the castle after dark. Eerie green glows that pulsed through the windows, casting unnatural shadows across the forest. Whispers of chanting drifted through the trees, the words in a language no one recognized, their rhythm hypnotic yet unsettling. Some claimed to hear screams, high-pitched, inhuman cries that pierced the night and sent animals fleeing. Others spoke of a low, rhythmic hum, like the heartbeat of something vast and alive, emanating from the castle's core. One local, an elderly farmer named Janek, claimed to have seen something he would never forget. Late one night, unable to sleep, he ventured near the castle, drawn by the strange lights. From the edge of the forest, he saw figures in black uniforms gathered in the courtyard, their faces illuminated by flickering torches. They stood in a circle, chanting in a language he didn't recognize, their voices rising and falling like a hymn to some dark god. At the center of the circle was a man, bound and gagged, his eyes wide with terror. Janek fled before he could see what happened next, but the screams that followed haunted him for the rest of his life. He never spoke of it again, except to warn others to stay away from Houska. Fragmented documents discovered after the war hinted at the Nazis' activities, experiments too horrific to describe. They spoke of rituals involving human sacrifice, attempts to summon entities from beyond, and devices designed to measure energies no science could explain. One document, partially charred, mentioned a doorway that breathed and watched, its presence growing stronger with each ritual. Another spoke of a presence that responded to the chants, its power amplifying the Nazis' efforts. Some researchers believe the Nazis performed blood rituals, offering prisoners to the pit in hopes of awakening the forces within. Others speculate they tried to open the gateway itself, using forbidden texts and ancient symbols to commune with whatever lay below. When the Allies advanced in 1945, the Nazis fled Houska, burning most of their records to cover their tracks. But the locals tell a different story. They say the Nazis didn't flee because of the Allies, but because they unleashed something they couldn't control. The screams that echoed from the castle grew louder in the final days of their occupation, and the green glows became more intense, as if the pit itself were awakening. When the Nazis left, they did so in haste, abandoning equipment and documents in their rush to escape. The forest fell silent once more, but the castle's aura grew darker, as if the Nazis' rituals had left a permanent mark. What did they find in the pit? Did they succeed in opening the gateway? The truth was buried with the ashes of their records, but the locals still whisper of screams that lingered long after the Nazis were gone. Some believe the rituals awakened something that had been dormant for centuries, its presence now stronger, more aware. Others say the Nazis' experiments weakened the seal, allowing whatever lies below to grow restless, its whispers creeping into the dreams of those who venture too close today. Houska Castle is a tourist attraction, its weathered stones and crumbling towers open to those brave enough to visit. It draws the curious, the skeptical, and the thrill seekers, all eager to uncover its secrets or disprove its legends. But even in the light of day, the castle exudes an unshakable sense of dread. Visitors report feeling watched from the moment they pass through the gates, as if unseen eyes follow their every step. The air feels heavy, oppressive, as if the castle itself is alive, observing, waiting. Cameras malfunction without explanation, their lenses fogging or their batteries draining in seconds. Phones die, their screens flickering before going black. The forest surrounding the castle seems to close in, its branches forming a canopy that blocks out the sun. Paranormal investigators have flocked to Houska, drawn by its reputation as one of the most haunted places in the world. Their findings are chilling. Electronic voice phenomena, EVPs, capture whispers in empty rooms, their words faint but unmistakable. "Set me free," one voice hissed, its tone laced with desperation. "They're still here," said another, low and menacing, as if warning the listener to leave. Shadow figures dart through hallways, vanishing before they can be photographed, their forms flickering like smoke. In the chapel, the temperature plummets without warning, sometimes by 20 degrees in seconds, leaving visitors shivering and disoriented. One team of investigators, led by an American paranormal researcher named Sarah Mitchell, spent a week at Houska in 2019. Armed with state-of-the-art equipment, thermal cameras, EMF meters, and high-sensitivity microphones, they set out to document the castle's phenomena. On their third night, they recorded something that made international headlines. In the chapel, their equipment captured a low, guttural hum, like the sound of distant machinery, though no machines were present. Moments later, a voice spoke through their recorder. "You shouldn't be here." The words were clear, deliberate, and spoken in perfect English, despite the team being alone in the castle. The hum continued for hours, growing louder and then fading, as if something were moving closer and then retreating. Sarah's team also reported physical sensations, sudden pressure on their chests, as if an invisible force were pushing against them. One member, a seasoned investigator named Mark, felt a cold hand brush against his neck in the chapel. He turned, expecting to find a teammate, but no one was there. The sensation returned moments later, accompanied by a whisper so close it felt like breath against his ear. "Leave." Mark fled the chapel, his heart pounding, and refused to return for the rest of the investigation. When the team reviewed their footage, they found anomalies, faint humanoid shapes moving through walls, their outlines blurred but unmistakable. Perhaps the most terrifying reports involve a creature known as the Faceless One. Described as a towering humanoid shadow over 7 feet tall, it has no discernible face, just a void where features should be. It appears near the chapel, walking through walls, its presence accompanied by a suffocating sense of malice. Those who see it describe an overwhelming urge to flee, as if their very soul is under attack. The creature vanishes as quickly as it appears, leaving behind only silence and fear. One visitor, a British tourist named Emily Carter, encountered the Faceless One during a guided tour in 2022. She had lagged behind her group, lingering in the chapel to take photos. As she stood near the altar, the air grew cold and her camera froze. She felt a presence behind her, heavy and oppressive, as if the room had grown smaller. Turning, she saw it, a tall, dark shape with no face, standing just feet away, its head tilted, as if studying her, its form radiating a cold, predatory intent. Emily screamed, dropping her camera, and ran to rejoin her group. When she later reviewed her photos, one image showed a faint, blurry outline of the figure, though no one else had seen it. She never returned to Houska, and her story has become a staple of paranormal forums across the USA and Europe. Even skeptics are not immune to Houska's influence. In 2015, a Czech journalist named Peter Novak, known for debunking paranormal claims, spent a night alone in the castle as part of a documentary. He entered with a smirk, dismissing the legends as superstition and folklore. He brought a camera, a flashlight, and a notebook, determined to prove that Houska was nothing more than an old building with a vivid imagination. The next morning, he was found curled up in a corner of the chapel, trembling and unable to speak. His camera, which had been recording all night, was blank, its memory card corrupted beyond repair. Peter left Houska without a word and has never spoken publicly about what he saw. When pressed by colleagues, he simply shook his head, his eyes haunted by something he refused to name. His documentary was never completed, and he retired from journalism soon after. Other visitors report less dramatic but equally unsettling experiences. A German tourist named Klaus Weber, visiting in 2020, described a sudden, inexplicable panic that gripped him as he stood in the chapel. It was like the air was pressing down on me, he later wrote in a blog post. I felt like I was being watched, not by one thing, but by many. I heard a whisper, so faint I thought it was my imagination, but it said, "You don't belong here." I ran out and didn't stop until I was back in my car. Klaus's story is one of hundreds shared online, each adding to the castle's mystique. What is the truth behind Houska Castle? Is the pit a natural phenomenon, a volcanic fissure or gas vent that causes hallucinations and madness? Scientists have proposed rational explanations, suggesting that methane or other gases could induce visions, disorientation, or even physical symptoms like those experienced by Václav in the 13th century. Geologists have speculated that the chasm could be a remnant of volcanic activity, its depth exaggerated by superstition and fear. But these theories fail to account for the castle's strange design, its inward-facing defenses, or the consistency of the stories across centuries. Why build a castle around a gas vent? Why adorn its chapel with images of centaurs and demons? And why do the phenomena persist, even in the modern age, when science should have dispelled the myths? Paranormal researchers offer darker theories. Some believe the pit is a dimensional rift, a thin spot between our world and another. Perhaps a realm of entities that exist beyond human understanding. They point to the castle's architecture, its focus on containment, as evidence that the builders knew they were dealing with something otherworldly. Others speculate that the pit is a prison, built to contain an ancient, intelligent entity that predates humanity itself. The frescoes in the chapel, with their unsettling imagery, suggest a knowledge of something beyond the Christian worldview, as if the builders were aware of the forces they sought to confine. Some paranormal investigators draw parallels between Houska and other reputed gateways around the world, places like the Bermuda Triangle, the Devil's Sea, or the ancient ruins of Göbekli Tepe, where strange phenomena defy explanation. They argue that the pit could be a nexus, a point where the fabric of reality is weaker, allowing glimpses of, or intrusions from, another dimension. The Faceless One, the winged creatures, and the whispers could be manifestations of entities that exist just beyond our perception, their presence felt, but not fully understood. The locals, whose ancestors have lived in the shadow of Houska for centuries, offer no theories. They simply repeat the same warning passed down through generations. Don't go near it, don't look too long, and if you hear whispers from beneath the chapel floor, run. Their stories are filled with accounts of unexplained deaths, hunters found lifeless near the castle, their faces frozen in terror, travelers who vanished without a trace, villagers who heard voices calling their names from the forest, only to be found days later, wandering and incoherent. Some speak of missing time, hours lost with no memory, as if the castle itself can bend reality. Others describe dreams that linger long after they leave, visions of red eyes, leathery wings, and a pit that stretches into eternity, its depths alive with movement. One particularly chilling legend tells of a young woman named Anna, a villager who lived near Houska in the 18th century. According to the story, Anna was drawn to the castle by a strange compulsion, as if something were calling her. She slipped away from her home one night, telling no one, and entered the castle alone. The next morning, she was found outside the gates, her clothes torn and her eyes vacant. She spoke of a dark man who stood over her in the chapel, his face a void, his voice a whisper that promised to show her the truth. Anna never recovered, spending the rest of her life in a monastery where she refused to speak of the castle. Her story, like so many others, has become part of Houska's lore, a cautionary tale for those who dare to seek its secrets. Houska Castle stands as a monument to the unknown, a place where history and horror intertwine, where the past refuses to rest. Its walls hold secrets no one has fully uncovered, its stones bearing the weight of an unspoken promise to keep the world safe from what lies below. The pit remains sealed, its depths unexplored, but the stories of winged creatures, faceless shadows, and whispers from the void refuse to die. They linger in the air, in the forest, in the dreams of those who visit, a constant reminder that Houska is no ordinary place. Is it a gateway to another world, a prison for an ancient evil, or simply a castle built on superstition, its legends growing with each passing century? The truth may never be known, for to seek it would mean facing the pit and the things that dwell within. The frescoes in the chapel, with their cryptic imagery, hint at a knowledge lost to time. The castle's architecture, with its inward focus and labyrinthine design, suggests a purpose beyond human understanding. The phenomena, whispers, shadows, cold spots, and the Faceless One, persist, defying science and reason. For over 800 years, Houska Castle has stood sentinel over the pit, its stones a barrier between our world and whatever lies below. But the question lingers, Did Otakar II and his builders succeed in sealing the gateway to hell? Or is it still open, waiting, watching, biding its time? The whispers heard by visitors, the shadows seen in empty halls, the cold that grips the chapel, all suggest that the seal may not be as strong as the builders hoped. The next time you hear a strange whisper in the dark, or feel an unseen presence at your back, remember the story of Houska Castle. Picture its spires rising from the fog, its chapel standing over a pit that stretches into the unknown. Imagine the creatures that might lurk within, their red eyes watching, their wings stirring in the darkness. And ask yourself, what if the gateway isn't sealed? What if it's already open? What will crawl out next? Houska Castle is a place where reality frays, where the boundaries of the possible blur. It is a reminder that some secrets are better left buried, some doors better left unopened. But for those who dare to visit, who step through its gates and stand above the pit, the castle offers a challenge: to face the unknown, to listen to the whispers, and to decide for themselves what lies beneath. Will you answer its call, or will you run?